The 2025 Tampa Bay Buccaneers were truly a sinking ship. But how? They had so much aspirations of being great. Let's start with Baker Mayfield. Listen, Baker Mayfield has had a new offensive coordinator every single season since 2018. Some good, most ungood, but in Tampa specifically, he had all good up until about this year. In 2023, he started with the now head coach of the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canellis, as his offensive coordinator. And that's the first season where he truly broke out. In 2024, Baker Mayfield had a glow up with now new Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen. And that's where Baker Mayfield became an MVP candidate. But in 2025, he had the worst offensive coordinator of his career, Josh Grizzard, now fired, and is the new pass game coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Good luck, Jalen. But are we really blaming the failure of the 2025 Buccaneers all on Josh Grizzard and Baker Mayfield? Nope. There were many pirates on the ship, just not enough captains. And it starts with the head coach Todd Bowles. But don't worry, he'll walk the plank a little later on. Baker had a very pedestrian season up to his new standards with 3,693 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. These numbers seem low at face value after coming off of a 41 touchdown season the previous year. Oh yeah, he also had 4,500 passing yards as well. Truly, it had to carry over from 2024 to 2025. Everything was going according to plan. He was the quarterback 4 through week 6 and averaged 21.1 points per game. Everything was awesome until week 7. That's when the Bucs' greatest offensive player ever, Mike Evans, suffered a fractured collarbone on Monday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. This is coming after he already missed weeks 4 through 6 from a common hamstring injury. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. From week 7 on, Baker Mayfield was the quarterback 16, just middle of the pack, averaging 14.2 points per game. In the meantime, Trevor Lawrence, who is now benefiting from Liam Cohen, previous offensive coordinator with Baker Mayfield, is now the quarterback 2, averaging 22.7 points per game. Does coaching matter? Sure does. You know what else matters? Health. And health was not on the side of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially not in the pass-catching realm. So what did Mike Evans bring to the table before his injury, besides a massive red zone threat and another potential record-breaking 1,000-yard season? He brought leadership to the team, as he's the most tenured veteran in that huddle. Big Mike is Tampa Bay, and his teammates know it. Mike didn't exactly show out before he was sidelined with that hamstring injury, but he did record double-digit fantasy points in each of his first 3 weeks. He did return in week 15 and exploded on the scene with 6 receptions, 132 yards, all on 12 targets, and recorded his only weekly wide receiver 1 finish of the season. At the end of the day, it was a very disappointing season for the future Hall of Fame wide receiver, just recording 368 yards, 30 catches, and snapping his record-breaking 1,000-yard streak in a season starting from his rookie season at 11. Incredible. Emeka Egbuka was one of the small bright spots for the team until he wasn't. He was known as a luxury pick to the fans here in Tampa Bay. Going into the draft, the only real team need was at edge, but GM Jason Light had other plans. And honestly, who can question him, as he's known as one of the best drafters in the biz? They took the highly touted Ohio State rookie at pick 19 overall in the draft, shocking the world. But they knew what they had. Emeka Egbuka exploded onto the scene in week 1, going off for 23.6 fantasy points and scoring 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. That success did not last all season, as he hit the rookie wall early. How early? How about week 7 early? From week 7 on, he only averaged 8.7 fantasy points per game, and that absolutely crushed fantasy managers who kept hoping the early season Emeka would return. But he did not. But who did return this season? Chris Godwin. That's right, after a devastating ankle injury that put him out in 2024, he returned in week 4, right when Mike Evans was exiting. Was the return too early? Sure was. He was sidelined again in week 5 due to a leg injury, and nobody knew if he was going to make another comeback. But he did, and it was decent, but not the Godwin we remembered from 2024. Will he ever be the same? Time will tell. What about the run game? Bucky must have crushed it too, just like they did in 2024, right? Nope. Bucky suffered a foot strain in week 4. He missed 7 games. When Bucky did play, for the most part, he did provide fantasy production. But just 588 rushing yards and 4 total touchdowns is not what fantasy managers signed up for. He finished as a running back 1 in only 2 of the 9 games he played in 2025, and only achieving 100 total yards twice. He was definitely a disappointment for the second-year pro. So what did Rachaad White do with this opportunity? Well, he averaged 8.4 fantasy points per game and was a low-end running back 2 start for the entire season. He didn't do anything to win your fantasy matchups, but he didn't lose them either. He was most likely a late waiver wire ad. You would have liked to see more from a guy coming off of a back-to-back running back 2 season, but instead we got the ups and downs of a backup running back trying to find his way through the muck. So now what's to come for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2026? It's up in the air if Mike Evans is going to come back to Tampa. It's unknown if Chris Godwin can stay healthy enough to become Chris Godwin of old. And what are we going to get out of Baker Mayfield with his 9th new offensive coordinator in Zach Robinson, formerly the Falcons offensive coordinator, who brings experience from the Sean McVay coaching tree? One thing is for sure, if the Buccaneers cannot steer the ship back into the right direction with a defensive-minded, very pedestrian head coach Todd Bowles, maybe he's the one walking the plank next year. Let's be honest, it should have happened 2 years ago.